So this morning I found it really interesting that there were multiple headlines in RT just today that were talking about Crocus City Hall and how they were blaming it on the US, or the US didn't warn them, or the US is behind it, or that sort of thing, or it's still all about Ukraine. And I was thinking, like, what are they getting out of this? And then something dawned on me, and I'll show you what dawned on me in just a moment. Moscow responds to claim that US warned it about possible terrorist target. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova has rejected the Washington Post claim that the U.S. alerted Russia that the Crocus City concert hall could be attacked by terrorists 2 weeks before the tragedy, calling it completely false. For the record, this is the Washington Post just this morning. This was yesterday. U.S. told Russia that Crocus City Hall was possible target of attack. Okay, so that's the Washington Post claim, and here's Maria Zakharova, who's telling the truth. At a press briefing on Wednesday, Zakharova dismissed the report, noting that Moscow had grown accustomed to American misinformation. If that's not the most ironic statement of the year, I mean, I'm not even sure what to say to that. I would really like to receive factual material on this topic from the American side. That is, to whom and when did they give this information, she added. The head of Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service has confirmed this, but noted the information was too general and did not allow us to fully identify those who participated in this terrible crime. Well, they didn't have all the answers, but they understood that something was brewing. They detected enough to know, and so they told them 2 weeks in advance that Crocus City Hall was a potential target and you better be careful. Now, with that, they didn't do anything. They didn't redouble the forces around this place long enough to be able to prevent a problem, because they thought that America was just kind of, joking them or trying to, lead them off on a different trail or mislead them or whatever. Meanwhile, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has accused the West of obsessive attempts to clear Ukraine of any culpability. What? The obsessiveness is to try to figure out how to pin it on Ukraine. That's what Russia's doing. He also advised against, listen to this, jumping to conclusions before the investigation is over. But it's okay for you to jump to conclusions that it's Ukraine. Now, I get you're in a war with Ukraine, even if you can't call it a war, but you jump to conclusions immediately. Okay, let's go on to the second article. U.S. is shielding itself by whitewashing Kyiv over terror attack. The U.S. refuses to allow any discussion of potential Ukrainian involvement in last month's terror attack near Moscow because Washington is ultimately accountable for Kyiv's actions. Okay, I have so many questions about just that one sentence. Let's just look at the biggest ones. How is the United States responsible? And to whom is the United States responsible? To Russia? You're freaking kidding me? The United States had caused this through Kyiv, and what's the connection? Can you prove ISIS took responsibility, and you're saying that the U.S. is responsible for, so many questions. Okay, the Secretary of the Russian Security Council, Nikolai Patrushev, has insisted the U.S. government has claimed that all evidence points to an Afghanistan-based offshoot of the terrorist group Islamic State, formerly ISIS. Yeah, they claimed it themselves. Patrushev said Washington is determined to impose its preferred narrative regarding the attack, but they claimed it. It's not Washington doing it. They claimed it themselves. And it's not about imposing your narrative. I like vanilla, you like chocolate. Like, this actually happened. They're actually claiming it. It's not just trying to, get the better meta-narrative. Okay. It's well known that the Kyiv regime is not an independent and fully controlled by, it is fully controlled by the U.S. We should take into account that ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and other terrorist organizations, this gets crazy, were created by Washington, the senior official added. Donald Trump infamously described then-President Obama as the founder of ISIS during his 2016 White House campaign, while branding fellow candidate Hillary Clinton as the co-founder of the group. Yes, but he's saying they allowed this to happen. They caused this in in a accidental way. He's not saying they were like hanging out in a cave going, okay guys, who's going to take out this group and I'm going to take out this group and who's going to, like, they didn't like found it or create it in that sense. He's saying they allowed it to fester. Russian officials have suggested that ISIS-K, the group that claimed credit for the Crocus City attack, now serves as a U.S. tool, launching strikes at Washington's opponents, including Iran and the Taliban government in Afghanistan. U.S. officials denied the allegations because they're freaking absurd. Okay, so, but they're also wanting to strike out. ISIS-K also wants to strike at U.S. allies like France and England and Germany and even the United States itself. So this is actually absolutely ridiculous. This is just nonsense. Okay, last little bit. Now this is where the connection is. Russian army has recruited 100,000 so far this year. In a statement on Wednesday, the ministry said that more than 100,000 people had signed contracts since the start of the 2024, with numbers increasing nationwide. Okay, so 100,000 from January 1 to what today is Wednesday, April 3rd. So let's go to yesterday. That's 92 days. Officials estimate that up to 1,700 volunteers register at recruitment centers each day, and that in the past 10 days, some 1,600 Russian citizens have signed contracts. Now, why are they signing contracts? Are they forced into it? Well, they probably have been kind of pushed into it or tricked, or in some cases. But listen to this. During interviews conducted over the past week, most candidates said that their main motive for concluding a contract was a desire to avenge those killed in a tragedy that occurred on March 22nd in the Moscow region, the ministry added. Oh, okay. So something clicked and I went, okay. So Crocus City Hall is attacked. Now, I'm not going to get into, was it a false flag? I don't know that it was. I don't know that it wasn't, but I don't know that it was, and so I'm not going to assume that it was. Let's just go with the ISIS claimed it. Ukraine claimed they didn't do it. The U.S. says we didn't do it. Russia had it. We know that it happened. So I'm going to go with what we know and not what we can speculate about. But Russia didn't really do anything. It looks like they were just caught with their pants down, and so it's kind of egg on their face. But they're going to turn lemons into lemonade, or in this case, they're going to turn it into something far more devious, because this is now going to become a recruitment tool to avenge the deaths at Crocus City Hall, because it created this patriotic sentiment similar to what happened after Pearl Harbor or after 9/11. There was this massive movement in recruiting. In late December, Putin said that a total of 600. Oh, before I go and do that, let me look at this. Those numbers, these numbers are the same thing. Here's NBC News. Russia has seen a significant jump in a number of people signing contracts to join the armed forces since last month's deadly attack on a concert hall. More than 100,000 people signed since the beginning of the year, including 1,600 people in the past 10 days alone. And if we do the math, you would see that this would create a 50% increase, roughly about a 50% increase compared to what has already happened. And so and the numbers are a rough cut, so just take it with a grain of salt. But this Crocus City Hall has actually been a recruiting bonanza. And so what's actually happening here is Russia's turning lemons into migraine headaches for Ukraine. Right? Lemon juice actually can trigger migraine headaches and can worsen heartburn, and they're trying to cause that. Taking those lemons, instead of turning it into lemonade, well, it might be lemonade for Russia, but it's going to be migraine headaches and heartburn for Ukraine. Okay, last little bit on this article, and this was really interesting. In late December, Putin said that a total of 617,000 service members were present in the zone of military operation against Ukraine. He didn't say how many of those were alive, but okay. He noted at the time that out of this number, 244,000 had been mobilized in the autumn of 2022. At that time, Moscow had called up 300,000 people. Putin added that Moscow does not plan to announce a second wave of mobilization, as nearly 500,000 troops have current contracts. But you don't need to have a wave of mobilization if patriotic sentiment is driving people there because of attacks on things like the Crocus City Hall. Okay, so I just connected those dots. Tell me what I'm missing, if this is helpful, if this is lacking something, or just what. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and the coffees, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.